Got it? Yeah. They drop in.
Righto, everybody. Hello, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for entertaining my idea. My name is Otto Cameron, and I'm in fact one of the new recruits. Just like you guys, I was here only a couple of weeks ago, and with that, these fine gentlemen were part of the training. And so with this is where you'll end up being, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks as you progress with TransDev. So with that in mind, what I want to do today, I'm here for two reasons. One is that I want to share with you, I guess, my development over the last couple of weeks since sitting at these desks to where I am today, and then as we progress. But also, I'm starting at TAFE. I'm doing a training and assessment course, much the same as these guys who are qualified assessors. And with that, as part of my assessment, I need to do what is a training session with a group of people, which this is it here. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to do this in parallel and to share some information with you. So what I want to do today is I want to walk through a shift, which is what you've got in front of you, which is the 1280 shift. And with that in mind, I want to walk through what are these mud maps that these guys probably have already touched on or probably will spend a bit more time on. And it's just so important, critical in personalising these mud maps. And you can find these mud maps on my TransDev app, which you've probably already become accustomed to. And I want to share with you how I do things. It's not necessarily the right way, but what it is the way it works for me. Because it is critical to have these, I guess, navigational tools to help you, to give you that confidence as you're driving. Because there's a lot of routes there that will be unfamiliar with yourself. For me, particularly, I live north of the river, and a lot of the routes are south of the river, so I'm becoming very familiar with some of the major roads. But when I first started, it was a bit of a tough exercise, so it was important for me to get confident with some of the tools that are available to us, which is my TransDev app, Journey Planner, which is the Transper Journey Planner, and also the apps as well. So that's what I want to share, and I guess with that, I will ask some questions as well. Go ahead, Melinda.
How often, and possibly change all the time, I don't know, do you do a different route?
So that's a good question. So with that, there's multiple shifts, so many shifts. Like, I don't know, there's hundreds of different shifts. I asked that same question when I was here, and I think it'll take you probably more than a year to do the same shift. However, within a shift, there are duplicate routes. Meaning, so if you've got the 1280 in front of you, and it shows the route of the first one is 158 TS, and then the next one down is 158F. And then as you sort of progress throughout the shift, there's a 520, there's a 514, etc., etc. With that in mind, this is the 1280 shift. Now, if you end up doing another shift, let's call it the 1281, it would be completely different to what you see here. However, it still might have a familiar route, be it might have a 158 on it. So, in saying that, there are multiple routes, and if you have a look here in this book, or the larger copy that you've got, you can probably just see how many different routes there are, and they're kind of juggled, if you were, within a shift. So if you get one shift, 1280 today, and you get a 1281 tomorrow, you might end up doing the same route, but then you'll probably introduce another one. So in saying that, I've been now on the road for 3 weeks, somewhere in there, 3-4 weeks, and I'm on a casual basis, so I'm not working every day, but each shift that I've done is completely different. Today I'm doing another shift again, but in saying that, I did the hard work initially. So in the first probably week of taking on this particular role in a casual capacity, I spent probably a few hours developing the routes, the mud maps for myself. So when I got a shift, I would look and see what routes have I done in the past, what routes are new to me, and then I would then apply that to the mud maps. And now I've got I guess a portfolio of mud maps, so when I get a shift, I just simply pull out what I've already done. So it's important to do the work initially. And once you've done the work initially, which takes you a few hours, you can then just hang on to that and have a library of shifts if you were, and then you get a different shift. You have to put it out already done that one. And the odd occasion, I might get a shift that I need to kind of get back onto the mud maps, tailor it my way using the journey planner. So what I want to do, I just want to just walk through the tools that we've got available to us. I'm going to go through my Transdev app, show you where the mud maps are, and then with that I want to also show you the transfer journey planner, and then I want to also personalise a particular route, which would be the 158, which would be the 158F that I'm going to do, because that's a standard route. The one above, the 158TS, you may have already been told there's a certain deviation there, and it's all already written here. So I just want to, just for simplicity, just look at what is the standard route, the 158. So before I do get started, is there any questions with that? Are you all familiar with what I've talked about? Have you seen the mud maps? Have you looked at Transperth Journey Planner? Have you looked at some of the maps? Perfect. So this would be a great example of what you could use. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's all about what works for you. So with that, first thing, with my Transdev app, I've logged on, which I think you've all had the opportunity to do that, or you will at least. And with that, I'm not going to go through all of its tools and functionality, but what I'll do is just identify where you can find the mud maps that these guys and everybody else has contributed to. That's a storage on my Transdev. So you can go to Fremantle, because that's where we are. And here is just a list of, I guess, pages that you can go to. And what I want to look at, see, there's this one here, so Fremantle shifts, Fremantle cat shifts, stadium shifts, and second from the bottom, it's got mud maps. So with that, there's a whole series of things that I encourage you guys to have a look at and spend the time. But with that, if you just click onto this guy, mud maps, and it comes up with this piece, and what it is, it's a PDF. So if you click on the PDF, it'll open now what is the mud maps that sits on my Transdev app as it stands today. Knowing that some of the routes do change every now and then. So with that, that's a PDF. Now, with that, if you've got the software, you can convert that PDF into a Word document. It makes it easy for me. This is how I do my mud maps. I personalise it. I'm just going to find where is the 158. And this is it here. This is what these guys have already created for us. Have you already seen a mud map? Yeah, perfect. So this is in the PDF format. Now, with that, we want to change that to a Word document, because then you can tailor it yourself and edit it yourself. So what I've done is I've already got it in a Word document here. So now I can edit this document the way I like. Now, what you can do is you can ask these guys to send it to you in a Word document via email, or what I do is I've got a free software here which is called Small PDF, and what you can do, utilising this, you can subscribe, or you've got what is a free trial. You can convert what is a PDF to a Word document. PDF, this one. So you can go PDF to Word document, and what you can do is you can take this, save it on your computer, and then load it into there. And what happens, after you know, it'll convert it to Word document if you don't have access already. Now, with that in mind, this is what has already been created. So it's worth having a bit of a look at, just seeing if you're familiar with those particular navigational routes and roads and all that kind of stuff, because that's something that you've got to kind of put yourself into mentally. The next step is to go to what is the journey planner. So this is Transperth, and with that, you can go to anywhere in this here. There's a whole bunch of information here, but what's useful for me and the way I do it is looking at Transperth mapping, their online software. So I go to timetables, and here, for example, this gives you what is the bus. You can go all bus times, or in this particular case, what I want to do is I want to put in the bus route 158F. and that starts at 8:43. So I'm going to go 158. I'm going to go today, because you've got a function here, what day you can do it tomorrow, you can do it whatever day you like. It's always good to just have a look at your shift sheet, the day that you're doing it and the time, because sometimes there's a deviation. In this particular case, the top one, which is a TS, is the deviation, but we're going to go just standard route to begin with. So I'm going to go today. In this particular case, what time does the 158F start? 8:43. So I'm just going to go somewhere like 8:30, and I'm going to go find bus. So with that, it comes up here. This is the bus timetable. It's a 39. That's just their PDF. I'm going to click onto the 158, because that should then give me what is this screen here, which tells me a whole list on the left side of all the bus stops. But what's really important is this map here, this electronic mapping software. So with that in mind, we're looking for maybe an 8:43. I think the closest one is this guy. We're already on it. We're on view here. And what I want to do is I want to look at, we're going from, where do we start from in this particular case? Elizabeth Key. So our start here, it says it's Fremantle. So what we want to do is we want to reverse the journey, because now it tells us Elizabeth Key ending at Fremantle, and that's 8:43. So now we know that we've matched what is our shift, our route 158. We've got the mud map, and now what we want to do is look deep into the route and then tailor that mud map according that works for you. So what I do is I try to ignore this area here. I want to expand my map, because that's important for me to have a look at. And I will then zoom in to where all this starts. So we know that we start at Elizabeth Key. We're going to zoom in there. Here's a couple of functions here. You can have normal, which is normal view. You can have satellite view, which I think you've seen before on any type of Google mapping. I go to hybrid, because hybrid gives me the routes with the blue line, but also gives me street names. And that's really important to see. So with that, I'm going to zoom all the way in, because we know that, for example, here, this is Mounts Bay Road. It tells us we're in this particular station, which is our Elizabeth Key station. And we're now married up what is our electronic mapping with Transperth with what is our shift. And the next thing is to look at where we are here. So this is the raw mud map that these guys have put on my Transdev app. So now, here for example, it says from Elizabeth Key, and it's via across Adelaide, Picton, etc. We're going to exit station by Kwinana Freeway South and bus lane. So with that, let's have a look. And I'm just using my computer to skip between pages. So this is where we're going to depart. We know we depart from here. There is what is a one-way system. It tells us we do this. We're coming through here. And if we hover in here, exit station by Kwinana Freeway South bus lane. So if we zoom out a little bit, this is actually the bus lane that takes us to the Kwinana Freeway South. And it says here, stay right hand lane on freeway by Canning Highway bus ramp. Now, if all that's very familiar with you, keep that terminology there, because it's common terms that we use within Transdev. So I'm just going to zoom out, because this tells us the blue line that we're now travelling, what is Kwinana Freeway South.
Is that all of that area is in the bus lane, isn't it?
That's in the bus lane until about Canning Bridge. Yeah, and then all of a sudden we merge on. So it's just before Canning Bridge we actually merge with public traffic.
That city traffic going
Exactly.
Yes.
And you'll become familiar with that.
That's it. Okay.
So what's really important is we've now exited what is, and once you've done this once in the bus, you'll be very familiar with it. And then you sort of tailor this. So it says stay right and lane on freeway by Canning Highway bus ramp. I think that's pretty straightforward. The next piece, it tells us enter into Canning Bridge transfer station. So with that, I'm now looking at here, and this tells us that we're entering what is the Canning Bridge bus station. All pretty straightforward. I don't think we need to personalise anything. I'm comfortable with that. The next says here is right at Canning Beach Road. So these guys have highlighted the right, as in the R, and then at Canning Beach Road and lights. So with that,
So we did that route the other day, and there was a special on-ramp for that Canning Bridge bus as
yes,
well.
special on. That's correct. Yes. And once you've done it once, you'll be very familiar with it. And if you want to term that something different, this is what it talks about here: stay in the right-hand lane, Canning Highway bus ramp. Now, if you want to term that something else, like busway, whatever you're most familiar or comfortable with, that's what they're putting out. But it's a bus ramp. We're no longer with public traffic. It's exclusive to what is
Transfer stations.
Yes.
Always going to be the bus ramp.
Enter into Canning Bridge station. There's only one stand there. You could put, if there was two stands, you could maybe put stand A or stand B as an example, whatever it tells us here. That's where you may want to tailor it. Right at Canning Bridge, Canning Beach Road. So here, for example, what I want to have a look at, I'm going to zoom in. That says here, Canning Beach Road. So it tells me right at Canning Beach Road, and it also says there's a set of lights, which there are a set of lights there.
So you're kind of going right, but then you're going
So why is that picture showing left?
straight.
No, you
Yeah,
go
good
right
question.
immediately.
Good question.
Ah.
So we've got that right at, and then the
Yeah.
next one is immediate left
Yeah.
at Kintar.
Road.
So this is immediate left.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
So what I would do, I would highlight, I would actually do this. This is the way I like to do it. Is I put,
Okay.
It's a tease. Because it's like you're heading into the raffles and then you turn away
Yeah.
from
that's
the raffles.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tailor it where I'm going to highlight my L for the left, which I do so like that, and I just move this across. This is why I like to read it, is that I'm looking for a set of lights that takes me to right at Canning Beach Road, and now immediately I'm going to make a left onto Kintar Road, which is there. And I also, what I will do is, I'm going to put
some say
no stops, NS, as an example. Because you look at this and you maybe think, oh, I'm turning right. This is when you're doing your homework and the night before. It's like, I'm going to turn right at Canning Beach Road, and then I'm going to go left into Kingtown. Now, you don't, when it says immediate, like it could be immediate within a few meters, or it could be within a few hundred meters. There could be a bus stop there. Yeah, so maybe you need to wait for a bus stop. But there is no bus stop. I put no bus stop, no stop, NS. That's just my terminology. However you want to do it, that's up to you. But I've tailored
You
it.
mean that from the bridge to that turn, don't you? Because that little
That's
slip
exactly
lane,
right,
that
yeah.
little slip lane
So I'm
is-
making my right turn into Canning Beach, I'm making my left into Kintail, and it's immediate, and I've got no stops. And then here it tells us timing point. So there's actually a timing point along the way, which is going to coordinate with your mud map, but also your wayfinder as well, which you'll see. The next instructions here says left at Matheson Road. So I'm going to just keep going along and just waiting for my left at Matheson. You can
13
zoom out,
minutes. It's 13
and then
minutes.
clearly you're on Kintail Road for quite a distance, quite a few stops. Now it's up to you. If you want to number the number of stops, that's fine. For me, I'm just looking for what is my next instruction, which is the left at Matheson Road.
But basically, I mean, yes, there could be a number of stops along that way, but unless someone's going to ring the bell or flag you down, you don't have to stop.
That's correct.
unless
Yes,
it's timing.
absolutely. Unless it's a timing point.
You're stopping at Kintail Road on that immediate left. Come off-
So in this particular case,
You've come off, yes.
you come off Canning Beach, you're
You've
going
jumped.
into Kintail,
Now there's a timing point. at
there's a
Kintail.
timing point.
You would stop there if you're.
If you're ahead of schedule. If you're not, you'll just keep going. And that's what will help you too when you spend a bit more time in those instruments there. It will tell you whether you're ahead or behind. So whether you're on time or you're delayed, etc., etc. So with that in mind, if you are ahead of schedule and you look at this particular piece here, so at Kintail Road, it actually says 8:54. So this piece here, this timing point, Kintar Road and Murrow Mews, it tells me on the shift sheet that it's 8:54. So if you arrived there at 8:53, what will you do?
Gotta hold for a minute.
Wait for a minute. That's right. But if you've arrived there at 8:55, keep going.
What did you say it tells you on the heating?
Yeah, it tells you on the internet as well. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what happens is, and you'll see that once you spend a bit more time out there.
Yep.
So with that in mind, you will punch in your shift. So you will log on to the Eaton. You will punch in your shift. It already knows that you're doing what is the 158F. It already knows that at 8:54 your timing point is at that particular location. And then you'll look at the timing point information and also the timer is in the clock on the Eaton. It'll tell you whether you're 8:53, you want to stop for a minute. If you're 8:55, just keep going. So my instruction is left onto Matheson. So for me, what I would do in this particular case, there's a roundabout here, and I'm just looking at what are landmarks. What am I looking for before I make this left? Because I don't want to make a left here and think that's Matheson, or think that's Matheson, because now I'm looking for Matheson. I'm driving, you've got the pressure, you've got so many influences around you, noise, traffic, people on the bus, bells, and all the rest of it. So in this particular case, you have a look, there's a roundabout there, and there's a roundabout there. So if I zoom in, what we want to do is we know we're going straight along this, snaking along Kintar, but then it's like the first left after the roundabout.
After the second roundabout.
Yes, yeah, sure. So after the second, so if you want to put two roundabouts then left, you could do that. For me, what I would do is I would put first, after, roundabout.
So I'll have to see.
So what I want to do. So what I want to do, just with that, because the columns are sort of, I just kind of move it out like that, because basically there's two rows here, right? Because you're going to fold it up. That's why these guys have done it in that particular fashion. So all I've done is I've used this piece. It's just a Word document that I've stretched out, and I've got here. For me, it's the first after the roundabout. Now, if you wanted to put after second roundabout, you could do that. That's up to you. But this is how you tailor it to the way you want to do it. And then it's got fourth left, the next one. We're keeping down here, we're on Matheson, and then with that, we're looking for what is the fourth left onto Ness. Now, for me driving, I've got so much going on in information around me and noise that I don't count the streets. That doesn't work for me. Like, there's one left, two left, three. Oh, was it the third? Was it the fourth? I can't remember. So what I tend to do, and this works for me, I'll zoom in, and I'm just going to have a look at this, and you click on the bus stop, and the bus stop says that this is Matheson Road after Narn Road. So what we've got, if we just remove that, there's Narn Road, there's the bus stop, and this is the bus stop. The name, the actual name is Matheson Road after Narn, and then it's the left. So I just kind of just click on that one, chief, I copy, and I'm going to go tailor it the way I like it. So it's left at, because I just want to customize it the way I like it. Ness Road, and I'm going to go after. Zoom that out there. After Narn stop, and I'm going to just highlight that guy. So when I'm now following these instructions, I'm making a left at Matheson. It's the first left after, in this particular case, the second roundabout. And then the next one is left at Ness Road. If you have a look what they said, just as a reminder, they went fourth left. It's hard for me to count the number of streets. So I've just gone, I've removed that, I've tailored it the way I like it. It's a left. And once I see that I've passed the Narn stop, I'm making that left. So we then continue on we made that left, and now the next instruction is right at McLeod Road, and it's roundabout. So I'm having a look at this. We come to this road, and it's a right. To me, it's pretty straightforward. There's a roundabout, it's the first one, and it's the first right. So I will tailor it in that my coding, if you were, roundabout, the way I do it is exactly that, roundabout, because you need as much space as you want. So I've just tailored in that particular case. The next instruction is that's right, and then it's left. And it's left where? Risley.
Yeah.
So what is that left? That's like our first left. But there's no other left, and you want to make sure you get that left, because if you miss it, you'll end up coming through here and you won't be able to get on the Canning Highway. So I'm going to go left at Risley, and I'm going to go immediate. So I'm just going to capitalise that.
You know what I reckon you should do? You should sit down and go through all the maps, print them off, PDF, and send them to us.
Yeah, and I'm going to put no stops again, because that tells me that I'm making what is the right here, and I'm making it left, immediate left onto Risley, but there are no stops at all. So that's this area here, no stops. There's obviously a stop here, but now we've made the left, and now we're going to stop there. Then the next thing it tells us what is, let's have a look here, right at Canning Highway, these guys have put lights. There are lights there, and we know we're going to make a right hand turn. So as you continue on, it says right at Hislop. So we're going to just have a look. We're on Canning Highway. Just got to find out where's Hislop. And it looks like it's quite a bit of ways. In this particular case, we're going to go here. Now,
Car yards on the right.
what's that?
Put car yards on the right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because you're familiar with this area. That's like a whole dealership, right? So what you could do, you could actually look at this stop and go, yep, after North Lake Road stop, it's the next right. Or in this particular case, because you're already familiar with it, there's Melville Holden there, and I would make the right there, and I would put Holden dealer. Holden dealer on right.
So we've got a fair way away. So once we start seeing that, we can move over onto our right-hand lanes, can't we?
That was something I was going to ask. Do you put, say, last stop, need to move to right?
Yes, that's good. And this is where you start to become familiar with what you need, because you do need to move to the right-hand lane to make that right-hand turn. So in this particular case, you've got Holden dealer on right. Now, if you're familiar with it, and you can see it in the distance, you're going to move across, but you want to make sure you move across after this stop here. This is the last stop. So you can put North Lake Road.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just highlight that. And I'm going to introduce, put here, for example, you may want to go into a second line. I'm going to put after North Lake Road stop, and I capitalise it because that's what I like. I'm going to put move right, and now Holden dealership. So in this particular case, we're going right. We're looking for right at Hislop Road. It's after the North Lake stop. We need to move right, and so I'll just make it a little bit better. And then it's over the next line, Holden dealer on right. And then we know that we've made, what is that right turn? And the next piece is left onto Richmond. And again, in this particular case, I would say, for me, one stop. And I'm going to capitalise it because that just helps me, and you can do whatever you like. And so on and so on and so on. So I guess what I want to just highlight is that, yeah, and it's really handy to have this tool under Transperth, and it's identifying the route and also the time. So in this particular case, we've done what is the 158. We've identified that this is on the 1280 shift. We've now gone onto my Transdev app to look at where the mud maps are. You only have to do that once. We'll get these guys to email it to you. Save that into your filing system on your computer, and then from there it's personalised the way you like it. And for me, I've got the Word document, and once you get your shift, you get plenty of time to do your homework, is then to work with the Transperth Journey Planner and walk through the route and tailor the mud map accordingly.
Because then we can take this on our clip sheet.
That's exactly right, yes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
in this bit, so just for your information, I have this. Now again, it's up to everybody how you want to do things. So what's in this for me? So today, actually let's just make this the way it is in this particular. Let's say that we've completed the 158. If you've got a printer at home, you print it. And so I'm just going to look it up, because this is all my maps. Now I'm going to see if I've got the 158. In this particular case.
Oh,
And it's just by coincidence that I'm actually doing the 158, or rather the shift 1280 tomorrow. Just by coincidence. That wasn't planned. And on that, we already know that we've got the 158F. So I've already done my preparation for tomorrow, as well as today, and also Thursday, which is my next shift.
Sorry, just quickly on. How far in advance do you get your actual shifts? Like I know you get your roster the
Yes.
week before. Do you get your shifts for
Yeah.
each every single
Typically,
day?
yeah. And if there's a shift change, I'll let you know.
Okay, so it's not like you just rock up to the day to work.
That's correct, yeah. You need the time
Yeah, we need
to
time.
be familiar,
So
yeah. And as the experienced drivers that perhaps if they've come in and they need to sort of do a quick shift change because somebody didn't turn up because they're sick, you know, people who are already familiar with the routes, they'll most likely take it. For me, I'm a new driver, they wouldn't do that to me just yet. However, I am prepared for it because I've already got a whole bunch of shifts already that I've done, or routes that I've already done.
So we get a week, is it? A week? Or you
Yeah,
don't know,
sometimes
is it?
more. Like I guess it's different. I'm
Okay.
casual.
Oh, right.
I get
cool.
called up a
Oh,
few
yeah.
days before.
So, yeah.
Whereas in part time, you'll probably end up getting a little bit more notice than that. Yeah, and then you can also look that up on your My Transdev app as well, which is under my kiosk. So in this particular case, I've made a printout of that route right there. We've done already our personalisation. We've only gone to this space here, but obviously you can go all the way through. This is the printout. That's what I printed out this morning in my printer. What you do is you fold it like so, because that's handy to have it as a visual. You'll see that I've got a lot of that terminology here already written down. So let's just argue, for argument's sake, this is the printout for that. I would then use this shift. I then fold it like so, because everything's folded in half, and then I'll fold it into a quarter. That's our run. Now I've got this little tool here. Maybe you've already seen it before. It's something that I've done, and it was suggested to me by another driver, an experienced driver. Essentially what that is this clips onto what is your little panel. So as you're driving, you've got a little panel on the right hand side, this clips onto there. So I will throw, in this particular case, this helps me. I put my shift there on that side. I put the 158 and I clip it here. Like so. So that will attach to what is the infrastructure of the bus. And then that would be on display in that regard as you as a driver. So me, as I'm driving, I got it like this, my steering wheel's over here, and I can always refer to what is this list here, which is here, as I'm driving along. And so what I'm looking for is, what we want. In this
The only
particular
time
case,
you would change would
Yes,
Otherwise it'd be like that.
that's exactly right.
That's why you're coming in early, because like, oh, all of a sudden you've got a deviation. So
Yes.
you've now got time when you made a coffee
That's right.
to
Yeah,
quickly
there's,
do the deviation.
so you will know the deviation because in this particular case, on the 1280, it tells you the first route is what is it? It's 158TS.
Yes,
Yeah. So
but you won't know that until you come in for the
no, you will know that because that's fixed already on the shift. So it's already fixed. So it's not a detour; it's a deviation. Something a little bit different. So for example, that
I
is
see what you're saying.
fixed.
That's a deviation because of the works.
That's a deviation because of, or it could be you're going by a school, as an example. So it's a fixed deviation. So the 158 TS, in this particular case, it says the normal route to the corner of Roberts and Richmond, then deviate via Roberts, and this is telling us we're going via what is Santa Maria College. So that deviation is fixed, meaning every day, if you were to do the 158 TS at 7:35, you would always do that deviation because you're going to go via Santa Maria College. So it's a deviation, not a detour because of the construction, road construction. That's something different. I'll just complete what I want to say because there's a notice board. So, for example, like I don't know if you knew the freeway south was closed on the weekend.
The
So
detour will always have the stands out there. You've got to follow.
that's exactly right.
The deviation.
It's fixed. It's fixed. You had a question.
It's, when we are checking on the journey planner, will this deviation show up on there as well, or is
Yes, it will.
it will?
So let's use that as an example. So we'll go to.
I reckon we just vote.
Let's just go back. We want to go back. We're looking for the 158, and in this particular case, it's
Yes,
Um,
TS.
we can't do it on. It'll show us. You can't actually do TS or F because transperth and our coding is completely different, but the route is the same. So what we want to do today, and we want to look at the 7:35. So let's go 7:30. We'll find the bus. We'll go to 158. This tells us that we're leaving Fremantle and we're going to Elizabeth Quay. So this is the 7:35. There's 7:35. Leaving Fremantle to Elizabeth Quay. So we're going to view. It's already there, but we'll press view. Now what we're doing is I'm going to remove that piece here. I'm going to go to hybrid. That helps me. And it tells us there's a deviation. Normal route to the corner of Roberts and Richmond, then deviate via Roberts. So in this particular case, we are, there's Richmond. And there's Roberts. So, corner of Roberts and Richmond, that's there. And then we deviate via Roberts left into Stoneham. So I'm going to have a look here, that's Stoneham there. So it's telling us that typically we would come along here, there's no change, but there's a deviation once you get to this corner because we know that this is Roberts and this is Winchman. So from exactly this intersection here, the deviation starts. And it tells us to go via Roberts, so we know we're making a right-hand turn at Roberts. And then deviation then says to us, well, what do we do? First instruction is
Left it.
left into Stoneham.
Why is it saying left at Roberts roundabout now?
So let's follow it. So left at Stoneham. So we know we're coming along Roberts, and the deviation is telling us to go left at Stoneham. What's the next instruction?
Left it more.
Left at Mooring. Where's Mooring? That's this guy here. That's Mooring there. So we've made the left on the Stoneham. We're making a left onto Mooring, and then it says Santa Maria College. So somewhere in here, Santa Maria College, which is this guy here. So that's the stop there, no doubt, to pick up the school, to drop off the school kids in Santa Maria. That's why that deviation is there. Because clearly you don't need to do that deviation at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock to drop the kids off. Clearly it's a popular route,
And then it'll be the
transfer
same in the afternoon,
possible.
come back.
Exactly. And then it tells us from Mooring, the next piece then says by mooring left in the Witchman.
So keep going.
So that's left in the Witchman here.
Yeah.
And then via mooring left and then resume normal route.
Yeah.
So for example, now we need to normal route. The normal route is coming here.
Oh, they're going
Making
down
it
the
right
road.
turn.
Okay.
So the deviation
It's just a little
as a whole is this loop here. Now at 7:35 we make this route. At midday, lunchtime, we don't need to pick or drop off any kids or anything, so we'll most likely just come here and then left here. That's the deviation, and that's fixed. It's not a detour because of construction. If there was construction, you get that at the notice board the morning of your shift. So I guess that's a really good question, and I'm sure you've got plenty of questions, but for the sake of today's session, and I appreciate your time,
Where did you get your clipboard?
this clipboard I got from Officeworks,
Okay.
and all I did is
Simple modifications.
did some mods. Basically,
Don't look off.
oh, it's okay. It's a clipboard, just like an A5, I think it is. It cost me $2, and I just cut a little slot in there for this guy to be on there. I mean, I guess you could fix it like that if you wanted to. You could drill a hole, but this has to now secure onto what is that little kind of aluminium panel.
Like this.
And that, for me, like you could just use that that little panel and just put that straight off the panel, and then you put your shift sheet somewhere else. But it's important to have that shift sheet because you need to know where the timing points are, and the timings, and any deviations.
And you've done all this in 3 weeks.
Well, this is what makes me comfortable and confident driving, because you're out there on your own. The last thing you want to do is get lost or get confused. Particularly with me, I'm not familiar with all south of the river major
30
roads.
years out of Perth.
So, with that, and I do want to just close the session, but I just want to make sure that it's important that the information I've shared and the tools that are available to us has been clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Yes.
Just a quick question, you have told us about the route. How about, let's say, from one station, I finish my run at Fremantle. and I
Yes.
have to go to the Auckland station.
I did
How
run.
can I work out that?
Dead run. Perfect. That's a really good question. So I do that also. So with that, in this book, at the very front piece, oh not that one, this one, you'll see that there's got some routes in there. Your route that you, as a suggestion, you could take to get from here to Fremantle Station, for example, on your dead run. You might end up finishing at Fremantle Station, and your next run is not until the bus port. So you now need to get, once you finish the run, get from Fremantle to the bus port. Now, them might seem pretty straightforward, but it's important for you to do that homework as well, because you can't reference your phone, can't touch your phone, you know that, you can't use Google Maps. If you're familiar with it, happy days. If you're not, and in my particular case, I've had to go multiple times from Murdoch Station to Auburn Grove. I didn't even know where Auburn Grove was prior to this
Or
job.
you've got to turn right up here onto Stock Road, and there's
Exactly.
another little bit of
Sure.
inside knowledge that you don't have to.
That's exactly right. And the first time I did that, I wrote those instructions down. And all I did is, I wrote it on my shift sheet. I tend to, what I do is, I make a single copy, I write any kind of navigation from here to where I need to start to, I write it here on my shift sheet. And this is just for me to have. Then I pick up the shift sheet from the office. It's important to use the one from the office in case there's any changes to
That's
it.
why you need to come in early.
Yeah, and I tend to come in early, minimum 15 minutes, because with that you can't clock on earlier than that. But also, it just gives me an opportunity to look at that notice board and just see, hey, is there any kind of detour because of roadworks? And then you want to maybe look at this piece here. It won't show you the detour, but if it tells you that, you know, this piece of road is closed and the detour is telling us to do this to get back on track again, I would write all that down here.
Good coffee.
You had a question, sir?
No,
No, that was it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
So, I guess just in close, I guess just making sure it was clear. I just want to keep it simple as much as I can. It's all about what's important to you, how you personalise it, what works for you. Counting the number of roundabouts, for me, I just know when I get to a roundabout and there's another street I need to make a left or right, that works for me because they're pretty, they're good landmarks. Holden dealership was a really good example as well, because I'm familiar with that particular Holden dealership.
I actually, on the map yesterday, I actually went over through, right, I was looking at it on my phone to see where I'd have to turn, and I was actually counting the turns, and I actually realised that's not going to work, because if you've got 13 turns, 13 left turns before you get to Matheson, and someone's in your ear talking, then I have to breathe at the same
Yes.
time. And
I know,
and pay.
that's already two things at once.
I know, I can't do it too.
You need to put something that you can recognise. It might be a McDonald's or
Yeah.
something, you can add that to your own, make
Yeah.
that something you know.
Yeah, so I put after the funky roundabout.
Yep.
Because it's a really weird
Oh, left
roundabout.
at this, or right
That's
at that, or I'm near this.
Yes.
Bunnings, da-da-da-da-da.
Those landmarks are really good. Yeah.
So I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Have you been lost at all? Since
Touch
the-
wood? No.
No? Okay.
Because he's gone home.
I've done my homework
Yeah.
and I've spent the time.
Yeah.
There's been times where you've made a turn, you're following your instructions, but all of a sudden, because you've got so many routes, you're at the end of the day, you go, oh, you know, this doesn't look familiar.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you kind of get a little bit of a sweat on it.
You wait.
And then I'm looking for the streets, am I actually on time? I'm good, right? And
Right, okay. Yeah.
no sweat.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's once you've done
Like brass.
a route 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, you then become familiar.
Yeah.
But don't become complacent.
Yeah.
That's
Because when you become complacent, you're kind of like dawdling and looking at houses because you like the way they've done the veranda, you'll miss that road.
No, your window will come off, your left mirror will
Yeah,
come off.
yeah. So there's a lot of noise, interruption if you were, because you've got to concentrate. Safety is important. Driving, being on the route, looking for any type of nuances that is going on because there's lots of it. There's lots of detours sometimes, and you get to a point, where am I supposed to take here? But no, it's clear for the bus, but not clear for the traffic, etc. So it's I guess it's what it is. You want to try to remove any disruption or any angst. For example, if you have your confidence with the route, you've done the homework, you've used the tools, and then you're confident with that, you will drive with confidence, and then you can deal with many other factors because there are so many factors.
I like that idea, very nice.
Thank you very much for your time. I know that I've taken some of it already, and I appreciate these guys allowing me to do it. It's supposed to be 15 minutes, but I think probably I've way extended that. But I think it was important you were tentative.
It was 15 minutes, plus a bit more.
Plus a bit more. But what it is just applying the tools that are available and making it your own. Thanks, guys, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Seeing as you've done it all, can we have 10 copies, please?
Yeah.
Actually, that one he showed you up there is an old one.
Thanks for that. That was good.
Perhaps you've got the